Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Shop Talk Park Slope. I'm Nikki Thomas, licensed associate real estate broker, and I am really excited to have the co-owners of Luna La Mer, Brittany and Lawrence, here with today. And this is like the timing of this is kind of great because they are literally in between putting on like the finishing touches of the restaurant right now. And so by the time we roll this out, they will be open for you folks to come and try out. And just, yes, I'm so excited to have you people here today.
Thank you so much.
All right. So let's just jump right into it. Tell us about Luna La Mer and what you folks offer. You already were doing some things, and this is kind of like the next phase for you. So tell us about that.
I'll go. All right. So we've actually been doing catering for the last 8 months or so. We started out as a catering company. We provide, breakfast and lunch catering and private catering for a lot of like photographic shoots or production shoots, film sets, that kind of thing. And we've been running that pretty steadily for about 8 months now. But in tandem with that, we decided to open up a space. I don't know if we can call it a restaurant just yet. It will be a cafe, a kitchen first and foremost, a cafe. There will be grab and go items. There will be, hot food. There will be, focaccia sandwiches, brownies, cookies, that kind of thing. We'll have a coffee menu as well. But this space was really exciting for us and kind of special for us, I think, because we wanted it to be very much a hybrid space, a place where we could keep doing some catering. We could be a part of the Park Slope, and Gowanus area community. We could serve coffee. We could serve, our baked goods. We could serve, good food, things that the people can also take home with them. And then we can also do more things in the future, like, brunches, pop-ups. It was really a space that we could be creative and kind of a home for all of these ideas and things that we wanted to do that were, surrounding food.
That sounds really exciting. And I'm actually very excited to. Actually, Lawrence, did you have anything you wanted to add to what Brittany was saying?
That's it. Yeah, I think it's sort of definitely like food focused, food forward. And then obviously opening a space in this area, we needed the coffee machine, and then it's sort of the idea is sort of cascaded from that point. And then we're looking at the space it's about 500 square feet, so the sort of restaurant aspect we've thought about that sort of evening and sort of organic wine and natural wine with the food pairing for down the line. It's obviously quite a small space, so it was mainly like the kitchen. Then we thought we'll put a coffee machine in, and then it's sort of the ideas are sort of they've evolved. There was never we never had a set plan as such, but we've certainly arrived at a goal that we're very happy with at the moment.
Yeah, so kind of like dovetailing kind of like into my next question. It's like, because the restaurant, well, and then that's the thing, right? It's like, as Brittany was saying, it's not quite your typical restaurant. And the restaurant industry is kind of a notoriously very tricky one. So is that kind of like part of the reason why you're going the route that you wanted to kind of do like this kind of unique hybrid space as opposed to going with the full regular, just kind of like, sit down, table service, that sort of thing, just kind of right off the bat?
Yeah, I think, again, so for the size of the space, we visited that space and it was just, it was sort of a little bit by chance. A friend of ours sort of mentioned it and said, oh, there's this little spot and it'd be a great wine bar. And I think the next day I walked past, saw the number, and I called Joe, one of the owners. There are three brothers who own it. And we called Joe and said we'd love to have a look. And we met his brother, John. And as soon as we walked in, I think we sort of fell in love with it. Yeah. It was, it had been a hair salon or like a sort of beauty parlor in the pandemic times, pre-pandemic, and then closed down. So it had sort of the plumbing in from where people wash their hair, and there was exposed brick, but obviously the terrible plastering where some shelves had been pulled down, and it was a wreck. And it was like, well, this is our wreck. And I think we both saw quite quickly there was a vision. And and that was really nice. And so to answer your question about sort of the difficulties of the industry, I think so. I had a small restaurant in London before I moved to New York about 5 years ago, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to commit my time to those hours. Restaurants come notoriously hard with margins and staff and turnover and everything else, but it's also you're giving up that time on your, in your day, and it's evenings, it's late, it's early mornings, it's all the time.
Yeah.
And I think for us, we both have children, and young families, but it has a younger family than mine. I have an 8 and a 12-year-old, but I didn't want to go back into that evening life of losing your evening. So I think that daytime offer was definitely much more appealing. A cafe fit the bill with much more food oriented and food forward. So not just pastries that we were buying in and coffee that we were buying. We wanted to be a part of that process of making what we were selling, and then with that, I think the catering arm, it's difficult as a cafe standalone to make that money as well, I think, with rent and things like that in the area and just food prices in general. And so the catering offers us this sort of extra sort of arm that subsidizes, and it can, we're not sure how it'll work. We'll see, but it's like, it adds more security for us where we know that we can generate an income to support our staff and actually sort of engage in some projects that maybe aren't so, with smaller profit margins and that community aspect. And we hope to sort of do more of that and have that ability to do that with the catering business is now sort of semi-proven. It's 8 months. It's helped us fund this build. It's been a lot of work, but it's been definitely worthwhile, and it's got us to where we are.
Okay, so you were talking about it as very, food forward, but let's talk about the food because, I saw some pictures and yum.
Thank you.
And so from what I could glean, it seems to be that in terms of your food kind of styles and stuff, that you are taking French and Italian and kind of putting the two together in your own way, which is interesting. I find that very interesting, right? Because tons of French restaurants in New York City, tons of Italian restaurants, right? But in terms of the two of them, either their styles or any kind of overlap and stuff, you don't really see that often. So kind of tell me what's kind of the story behind how you two ended up kind of deciding that, let's try to mash up those ideas, or is it even actually really even necessarily a mashup or whatever? Just, yeah.
I think it came very naturally because I am Italian and Lawrence is French. So it was and I am I travel to Italy often. I used to work in Italy many years ago before I was in the food industry. And so that is very near and dear to my heart. And the food that I've always made has always been Italian centered. Growing up, in the typical big Italian family, food is very important in every aspect of whatever you're doing, whether it's birthdays or family get-togethers or just a meal every night at home. It was very ingrained in how I grew up and how I raised my kids as well. And it's always been, I've just always loved Italian cooking and Italian food. And when Lawrence and I met, we both had that similar kind of love for, I think, sharing good quality food and good quality ingredients that were just fresh and not messed with too much, just letting certain food and products shine. Lawrence loves, I think, to cook on a grill on a fire constantly, and it's it's not really fussy, and it's more country side of France that you go for instead of the Parisian style. It's just more of that that idea of making homemade pasta and making homemade focaccia and getting your hands dirty or cooking it on open fire. And it's you go to the farmer's market and you find out what looks good that day and you come home and you cook it with your family. And that's kind of what we were both doing separately. And then that food naturally, I think, resonated for us and has come out a lot in our food for the last year or so.
I think there's a simplicity. What we want to bring is a simplicity to food, which is what I think definitely Italian and French, traditional family and cooking and food is. It's a tomato or a tomato, as simple as it is, in Italy and in France is the flavor. It's very different to what you find here. Even a Hudson Valley organic heirloom tomato. It's like you can create something very simple, whether it's a caprese or just like a tomato salad in with some balsamic vinegar. And my granny used to do it with like her own little vinaigrette that she'd have in an old mustard jar that she'd shake up, and she never cleaned this thing, and she just topped it up with oil and mustard and balsamic. And I sort of know the recipe. I can't tell you everything because it's a guarded secret, but it's a simple vinaigrette, and the tomato, the tomato was the focus, and it did what it needed to do. And it would be picked up from the market, and it was grown in the southwest of France, where I used to spend a lot of time with my grandmother. So I was born in England, I'm English, but my granny is French, and I spent nearly a lot of summers, just the two of us in the southwest of France, very remote, no internet, a telephone line and an old record player, and so that was like food came from that. So spending time with her in that part of France, and so it's the produce. I think it's allowing the food to kind of the produce and the quality to do the talking in that way, and then the sort of the traditional, the concept of Italian and French, the culture of eating comes with family and that family style and laying it out and passing things across and talking and eating and drinking and like that whole thing. It's not just it's not just like sustenance. It's not a way of fueling my body to go and do whatever else I need to do. It's a part of the culture. Yeah.
Experience. And I think that it's funny because Lawrence and I, we're really bad at recipes in terms of we don't have any recipes when we create our menus or when we create things for the space or for catering. We just write out things and then we cook them and we make them. And I find that's very I don't know, it seems very similar to what you were saying about just really good quality food, that we both kind of work well with finding ingredients and just enjoying them and having the pleasure of cooking them, which is something that is hard to do a lot. It's this industry isn't always super romanticized and that you can enjoy the food that you're cooking, but we really try to, Lawrence was saying, the catering side offers us that ability to really play with different foods and constantly be changing things that we do. I mean, we rarely repeat a menu. We try to do everything very seasonally, and that just keeps it interesting for us and what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. And we want to do that in the space as well. We'll have some food that's obviously staying, week to week, but it will definitely change pretty consistently. If we find something new that we like and we want to test out, maybe it'll be a small offering in the fridges, or maybe it's a different type of pesto we're putting on our focaccia sandwiches. It will change based on that and based on the produce that we have. And we want it to be known as a place where you come in and you might see something completely different and you might then never see it again. And that's something that's enjoyable for us. And it's,
but you have to keep coming back to see,
to check it out. Yeah. Because we're not really great at social media a lot of the time, but it's just that way of cooking. And I think that's what makes us not lose the love of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also keeps us on our toes. It just doesn't lock us into one thing as well. I think you go to lots of places where there's more than 10 items on a menu and that menu hasn't changed for 3 months. I feel bad for whoever's in the kitchen. It's definitely a privilege at the moment that we've been able to just roll with new ideas and just produce them. And maybe that will change when we have to become more focused and more structured in this side of the business. But I do think, running the specials, we spoke to our, we had some, Lindsay and Lois, who, we can name drop. What's their company?
One Day.
From One Day. So they're locals, and they helped us with all the design process and this sort of finishing stages, from menus to the t-shirts that we've had made and all sorts of things. And they've really helped us sort of finalize the look of the space. And so they've been great. And, they were talking about sending them menu items to be able to print. And I was like, I have no idea. We open in 3 days, and this was about 2 weeks ago, but I was like, I have no idea what we're making. I don't know what the menu is, but there is no menu. We're opening and then we'll make food. And it's we're so busy with everything else that's been going on, that we hadn't got to that point. And it was they were asking us for something to be able to print. And we just said, you know what, we're just going to print the drinks because those will stay the same. And the food will have to be it'll be a specials board, or we'll print small scale and we'll have it on the counter day to day, because otherwise I don't want to promise anything now that I don't want to actually be doing in 3 weeks. It's too far ahead. So that's kind of the that will change slightly, but
And like
we
in
will
Italy,
different role.
in Italy, when
Yeah.
you go to these restaurants and everything, at least where I gone, they bring over the board and they put it in front of you, and you look at the specials or what the cook,
Yeah.
chef is making that day, and you choose based of that. And
We're
it's
just
like,
doing specials. That's it. There's no fixed menu. It's a
Yeah.
specials menu every day. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a long-winded way of answering the question that it just kind of the two cultures, I think, and what we both love about those cultures were the same. And that really worked well for us when we were talking about this idea and this concept of a space and of food and what we both like to cook. It kind of just worked out in a really nice way.
But now I will admit that I am absolutely I can be a creature of habit when it comes to food. Like I get attached to things, and then when they disappear, I'm absolutely crestfallen. But that being said, there is something about having something and then just never really knowing if you're going to have it again. So you really just have to enjoy it for that time that you're experiencing it, right? And I guess I think that's probably part of the reason why when you travel and if you're able to actually travel, when you go somewhere and you have something that you've never had before, that is kind of part of the magic, right? Because this is new, this is different for you. You're really like honed in on it. And the reality is that no matter how much you might try, sometimes you can get pretty close, but you never quite recreate that experience. And it's part of it is because it was so new, it was different, and you were so like focused in on it. And that's the thing. It's like you were really, truly present and stuff. But I can also see the fun in kind of going to a place where it's like, that whatever they put out, it's going to be good. So you're just kind of waiting for, it's like, okay, what do they got today? What do they have today? And everything else.
And I think and I think that another thing about our menu and what we want to offer and is going to be very community focused and like community driven, because I live in Park Slope, Lawrence lives in Fort Greene. Our kids respectively go to PS 118, which is going to be 3 blocks away from where we're going to be. So I think that it's going to be also, what the community is looking for. If everyone's coming in for a certain thing or looking for a certain thing, then we certainly want to be able to provide that to the community and to everyone here, because we want to be kind of like a staple
evil
here.
Well, if the masses demand it, we're not going to fight it. But it also be it's about education, I think, as well. There's a lot to be said about education in food in terms of health and for children and growing up knowing where your food comes from, or just knowing that seasonality is very important, I think, nowadays. And so, there will be periods of time where there will just be a lot of one type of produce done in different ways, potentially, because that's what's coming out of the ground at this time. So, there's an education in that. And I think, trying new things is always good, whatever age you are and wherever you are. And so, I totally agree. It's about memories as well. Like you said, traveling and creating that memory or fixating on a memory, knowing that you tried something once, but maybe not having it again. So all of those things sort of tie in for sure.
Yeah. I love what you said, though, about like making sure that you try new things, because I've been going through that experience recently over the past like about 2 months or so, because in the wake of a recent medical procedure and stuff, I wanted to make sure that I was eating very, very healthfully in order to promote healing and stuff. And so I was like, all right, I got to eat more fruits and vegetables and stuff, right? And then as far as with the vegetables, I was like, well, I don't want to eat the same ones over and over again. That's boring. I started thinking like, okay, well, what's a different thing that I could do with this? And what about this? And it's just like, and as a result, my repertoire, well, certainly nothing that I would ever try to sell in any way, shape, or form, because just no. That's not my wheelhouse. But like now we cook and use so many different like everyday ingredients in ways that we hadn't previously thought to use them.
Yeah.
It's been fun. And now it's kind of fun to go to the grocery store, the market, and see what's in season and kind of be like, oh, okay, well, I have this at home and maybe I have this, and let me throw this in there since that's in season right now. Let me try this and blah, blah, blah. And it's really been wonderful, because sometimes when you kind of open yourself up to new stuff, it helps you kind of see other things in like a different way. So but it is very encouraging to know that if I come in and I'm just kind of like, Can you please bring this back? That maybe like it'll be brought back.
No, it will be because we'll be there and you can just tell us,
Yeah.
and and we want to be able to offer that to everybody. So if not, we'll just drop it off to your house or something like that. Like
Yeah, don't tell anybody.
a week later. Yeah.
Exactly.
That works. That works. Listen, I will take bespoke food. Listen.
Right. Exactly.
Now, how did you two end up like becoming a team together? Like, how did that happen? Like, how did your paths cross?
So when I moved over, it's through school, through the boys, the kids' school, and a mutual friend. And he introduced us, knowing about the sort of connection with food potential. And Britt was looking to, well, you can take over and tell your own.
Well, I was a stay-at-home mom. I have 2 young kids. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I had always loved food, cooking, and for my family. And I had dabbled in, like supper clubs and doing some private food stuff for friends and family, but never fully got into the food because, I was home with children. So yeah, a mutual friend of ours who my son goes to that school now, he'll be in first grade, knew that I was very interested in food. And obviously Lawrence was a full-time, pretty much a chef and a cook at a different place, and connected us. And we kind of like bonded over this idea of food, and we worked together for about a year in a commissary kitchen. And then like, again, everything happened in a very like serendipitous way where we were at a school auction, a benefit for PS 118 2 years ago. And a friend had mentioned, oh, this cool place, down the street from me is open. And then like Lauren said, he walked by, and then we went to see the space kind of on a whim, and we met Joe and John, and they were talking to us about what they wanted for this space, what they
didn't want.
What they didn't want.
And I think the space had sat empty for maybe 2 years before we'd been in. We went to see it, and they said they turned away smoke shops and grocery stores and people who had approached them, and they said that's not what they wanted for this space. And as soon as we saw it, we sort of talked about what we had been doing and sort of what we thought we could do with the space, and in terms of this sort of very much community focused food kind of space, and not just another cafe, and sort of with just a different edge. And they were like over the moon, and basically wanted us in there. And I think that from their positive reaction to it as well just helped it along, and that's what sort of pushed it and made it a reality. At that point it was very much there was no plan at that point, really.
And then with the catering as we were talking to them about the space, and as the catering kept kind of taking off, we were like, well, we can actually do this. I mean, this is kind of an idea of this dream space of being 3 blocks from our kids' school, and, being in the community, and, maybe being able to walk to work for me, or you can cycle to work. And this idea of having this like small little spot that is known for its food first and foremost, but also known for the community. It kind of seemed like it was actually closer to becoming a reality than it's just like thought of, far off dream.
Yeah.
So, through the months, it slowly started happening. And when we signed the lease and everything, and with the construction, we were really lucky with Alex, our contractor, who's just been like incredible with helping with like, all the changes for the space. Cause like Lauren said, it sat empty for a very long time. So it needed a lot of updates and changes. And then with Lindsay and Lois for the helping with the design, it just kind of, I don't know, it all, everyone was really excited, and everyone was really on board, and it almost felt like a little community and family that we were like creating. So it was like very positive, and I think that kind of fueled us to like keep going, keep pushing, and now we're like, a couple of days out from opening this space, and it's kind of crazy to think that it's actually here. But it's exciting.
Yeah, and I just love, and actually in terms of like my kind of final question, kind of like tie up like the interview and stuff, it's very clear to me that like one of the things that you folks are looking forward to about being part of the Park Slope community is literally being a community space. Basically, that's what I'm getting throughout this entire interview, is that because clearly like there is this sense of connectionness, gathering, bringing people together over not just food, but good, wholesome food that makes them think about, maybe the quality of the food and stuff, and just in kind of being that space where people can kind of bring that and stuff like that. That's basically what I'm getting for you, which is great, because I showed the pictures to my husband, and he was just like, when do they open and how close?
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
So yeah, but that's definitely the vibe that I'm getting from you. And I think that you are going to be an exciting and much and hopefully I think I have some good vibes. Like I said, between looking at the food and learning more about you folks and seeing to you today, I'm like, yeah, I think Hope is gonna welcome these folks.
In our U-Haul van as we're on our way to deliver more stuff. We don't, I feel like we don't stop a lot of the time. Like we're constantly going. Yeah.
And then on top of it, you got kids.
Yes. Yes. I'm sure. I think they're very excited for their like free lemonades and cookies for lifetime.
Yeah.
They're going to probably run that space more than we will, but in a good
Oh
way.
yeah, I can see that, especially for Lawrence, for your kids, with them being older, like that you might end up being a little bit of a hangout spot. I'd be like, yo, let's go to dad's spot and see if we can get us up.
They're great PR too. I mean,
Wilder, the 8-year-old, is basically my marketing director in the school. He spread the word that Daddy was opening a cafe and it was going to be amazing with hot chocolate and la 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 la. And I was getting parents come up to me saying, "We heard you're opening something," and this was like
early,
way back when it was early, and no one really knew. And so he's definitely helped in that respect. And Monty, who's 12, is he's helped me in the kitchen. He's great at juicing, and he'll definitely be on wash up, and it'll be a family affair in that respect. So I'll definitely bring them in.
Yeah. My kids are slightly less helpful, but
yes,
they'll be there.
But I'm sure they're at the age where they're like at like almost peak adorability. So like adorableness. So it's like, that'll help. They can be like, the mascots.
Yes, exactly. Especially if you give them a cookie or something. Right.
Exactly. Just pluck them outside the restaurant. Like, try my mommy's new place.
Yeah,
exactly.
Perfect.
Well, thank you folks so much for joining me. And actually, can you give folks the address of where you are going to be located so that way they know where to go and visit you?
Yeah, it's 468. It's pretty easy to remember. 468 4th Avenue. We are between 10th and 11th Street, edge of Park Slope and Gowanus, and we're opening Thursday, August 15th.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, wishing you all the best. Cannot wait to pop by and grab some deliciousness when you're open. All right. We're going to let these wonderful folks get back to doing all the hard work that they need to do. Thank you, Brittany and Lawrence. All right. So thank you folks for tuning in, and I will see you next time for another edition of Shop Talk Park Slope. Bye.
Bye.